I think it's now acknowledged what a great job we've done, and people are looking at that. And in Texas and in Florida, we get an A+. And I'll tell you what, I think we've done just as good in Puerto Rico, and it's actually a much tougher situation. We need their truck drivers. Their drivers have to start driving trucks. We have to do that. So on a local level, they have to give us more help. I appreciate very much the governor and his comments. He has said we have done an incredible job, and that's the truth.
Donald Trump visited Puerto Rico today, which is still struggling after being hit by Hurricane Maria almost 2 weeks ago. And after lavishly praising his own administration at a press event, the president visited a relief center. Here he is handing out rolls of paper towel, tossing them into the crowd as if he were shooting a basketball. The president also handed out flashlights while telling the folks in the room, you don't need them anymore. The vast majority of American citizens in Puerto Rico do need flashlights because more than 90% of the island remains without power, and more than half of households still don't have clean running water in the United States of America. New York Times reporting today that because supermarkets access computer systems, food stamps are unusable, many of those families having to rely on neighbors for food. But much of that didn't seem to reach the president today. NBC's Hallie Jackson tweeting that, quote, POTUS on Air Force One just now asked about any constructive criticism he heard today. We only heard thank yous from the people of Puerto Rico. Congressman Luis Gutiérrez met with FEMA and local government officials when he was in Puerto Rico this weekend. He joins me now. Congressman, your reaction to the president saying he didn't get constructive criticism, he just got thank yous. People say he's doing a great job.
How sad, how disgraceful that when people are suffering so greatly, when there is such pain and anguish and fear about what the future presents to millions of American citizens on that island, that he would act with such folly and silliness. This is very serious. And I think the President of the United States, I hope that on his way back, if he's already here, maybe tomorrow, go by the Vietnam Memorial and see the hundreds of names of Puerto Ricans that are etched in that wall, who gave up their lives. They didn't say they had bone spurs. They responded. And they gave up the ultimate tax, the tax of their life. Korea, World War II. Then there was no doubt. They were citizens when they were called to defend the nation. They were citizens. Then there was no question. There was no tallying how much is a life worth. They paid the ultimate tax. And so what an offense to the people of Puerto Rico. I just want to say, Chris, you know what I saw? I saw people coming together as neighbors, giving the very little they had so that their neighbor could survive, cobbling together a unity that I've never seen before. I've never been prouder of my Puerto Rican heritage or of the people of Puerto Rico. I only hope that if I were ever to confront that in Chicago, that the same dignity and the same poise would be that I would see from my neighbors and my fellow Chicagoans. That's how proud I am of them.
What I have heard from people that I've been in touch with on the island and from other reports is there really is this bottleneck problem, and it doesn't really seem like it's gotten a whole lot better, and it's worrying that there are supplies, there are things that are needed, and getting them out to the people that need them has been the obstacle, the kind of last mile problem. Have you heard that as well, and is the federal government doing enough to make that happen?
Look, we should have a carrier out there with a couple of hundred helicopters sending in relief. Chris, what the people have to understand is the topography of Puerto Rico. You think of Puerto Rico, you think of beaches, you think of ocean. No, the majority of the island is mountainous, and there are hundreds of thousands of people. The bridges have been washed away and the roads, and they're trapped. What we need is to build those temporary bridges, go in there and rescue them, and then put them in a safe place. I wish, Chris, you and I could just look at the emails that I get from my constituents, which I must believe are being replicated. There was a woman, she buried her 58-year-old brother. He died the day of the hurricane. 3 days later, there was no place to put him. She buried him in her backyard. Another couple finally made it to Puerto Rico because their mother had died. By the time they got there, she was already cremated because they couldn't keep her any longer. The death toll is going to increase. This is what the hurricane has taken away so many precious lives. But guess what? That same hurricane will take away more lives because of the inaction after the terrible fury of that hurricane and then the rain. And that is what is so regrettable. We cannot stop a natural disaster from occurring like a hurricane. What we can do is be prepared and not start talking about, well, this is going to cost us so much. What's the life of a human being worth? What's the life? It's priceless. And that is something that I think this president just never is going to understand.
All right, Congressman Luis Gutiérrez, who was in Puerto Rico over the weekend, thanks for making the time.
Thank you.